Hello, it's Brennan from Tech Boys Ireland. Today we have the ANNKE NightChroma IP camera, pan tilt particular camera. Box doesn't give too much away, just to basically get dressed, got the details there, and it doesn't tell us too much information. Does give us the model there on the box itself, so it gives us an idea. I suppose, what's actually are we getting here at the moment? As an IP camera, it's got a 3K full color network speed dome, built-in microphone with speaker for real-time audio, built-in memory card, allows the card slot so you can actually put an SD card into it. We'll come back to it a bit more. Obviously you can connect up to it. And then VR, probably very important because it's an external camera there, so the Ip66 rating, and gives the option of the 12 volt or PoE switch connected directly to the unit itself. And what do you actually get? Obviously you get the screws, you get the connectors, you get an Allen key, nice to get a sign actually to say video surveillance going on there. And this is actually a drill for the template for the bracket and the user's manual. The user's manual is not actually bad. Obviously it doesn't go into a huge amount of details because it can't, because the amount of different options you've actually got. What's in the box, it's got all this information in terms of the box. It's got the camera instructions so you can actually see what it's been doing, and clearly shows the SD card slots, and it's got the connection diagrams. The connection diagrams, this is connecting to an NVR. We're not going to do the NVR today, work independently without it, and I'll go through a demo of that and we'll get some videos to actually show how it's connecting. So it's quite good, gives those details. Connecting that to the camera, talking about the mounting there, waterproof. Got a problem with this particular part regarding the waterproofing and the connectors, but we'll go back to there. Troubleshooting about connecting and the specifications. 1.8 processor scan, lens to night 24-hour color. 24-hour color is quite interesting actually there, because in night time, movement range 0 to 340 degrees, movement range two-way audio on sports thing, power 12. This is all the same things there, information. So what are you actually getting, I suppose, in essence? And this is the unit itself. Hard plastic itself, hard plastic. So typically, as you see, if you mount it to a wall, it's got a mounting plate, so you mount it to a wall, or you mount it to a ceiling using the bottom screws here. Model clearly defined here, and I suppose this is the camera itself. So what you'll notice, the normal camera, the audio, and actually you've got two white lights will actually come on as required for night. This will actually spin around, tilt, for example, as required, and that's one thing to be aware of. You do get Allen key. Allen key is used for back here. So what you do is you unscrew these two screws here, and there's actually a reset button. You just put in an example. This is a typical 256 gigabyte card, not supplied with there, but one thing to notice is this particular card I've got has a camera noted, and it's also got the speed file. Very, very important to get a good quality card, SD card, also to make sure it's from a proper brand and a proper supplier there at the moment, because not as bad as getting something and having a problem there. And that's basically the camera. So what we're going to do is we're going to set it up using the diagram itself. Before we set it up, a couple of niggles from me. A couple of niggles in terms of, this is the cable, so it's setting yourself up for failure straight away. Typically what you do is you plug this in here, and this will go directly in here, which is your normal. This actual connector is a waterproof, so you're supposed to put it in there, unless you come with a crimp tool itself to make it, that won't fit over it. So typically for a lot of the manufacturers themselves have been around for a while, and so they have an idea of what they're actually doing. So they've been around for 2024 and they make things for home and business connections. But this is more for a business professional installer if they leave it this particular approach, because this will not fit through here, and so it's setting yourself up for failure straight away because it's not going to work. So in theory, if you decide to go to hardware store and buy a long cable to use it, it works absolutely perfect, whereas a typical installations team will actually have their own crimps. They'll make the details, they'll put it on the cable. So just be aware of that particular part. The instructions also tell you, so when you connect, and then here I can connect it through here, I need to get power. So all I'm going to use here at the moment is a 12 volt connector. It's a 12 volt greater than 1 amp power supply. Most of these CCTV are standard enough, so it just plugs in directly on its unit itself. Alternatively, depending where it's going, you could use a PoE switch. PoE will allow me to basically give it power. So really what I would do is I'd plug this cable directly into the PoE and then directly onto my router there in the background. It's an option. If it's connected to an NVR, just plug it straight into it after doing a bit of configuration, so I'll get the power. There's a couple of different options that you can actually use on that particular approach, but we'll give it a bit, connect them up in a few moments, and we'll give an example how it's set up. For demonstration using this particular approach in terms of router, IP camera, power, and obviously the laptop itself, and I'll go through that. So 2 leads coming from here directly. One is going to my 12 volt power supply. One is going directly from there, Cat5. Ethernet cable is going directly into my router, back of the router. Typically a router there at the moment. As such, my laptop connected directly on the network. I prefer to have it connected directly on the network rather than the Wi-Fi initially. My laptop doesn't have an Ethernet port, so what you kind of need is you need, example, a USB-C to an Ethernet port, and they buy them anywhere, for example. So I can plug this directly into my USB-C port. This means that actually, at the moment, everything is hardwired on the network. So once I plug everything else in, everything should be connected. So this router will talk to here. And then part of the process then becomes you have to download the software. And this is a SADP2 tool. There is links available, and we will actually put it there. So once this particular runs, what it's actually doing is it's going to do a search of the network. I don't have this plugged in as of yet, so when I do actually plug it in, I'll pull up the IP address. Then through here, I'll actually go down, I'll change the password itself. This comes with no default password. So what I'll do is I'll just change it to something I know, familiar, and it's coming through. Ignore the instructions after this. It does tell you on the instructions to go onto Internet Explorer. Obviously, Internet Explorer has been phased out a long time ago. So if you look in the website, I'm going to use Chrome today so I can connect it up to that particular point. But we'll actually show you it actually connecting, and then we'll give you an idea how this is connected. Having run the software here at the moment, SAP, with it connected on the thing, so just press refresh and it's come up. My IP address is 192.168.1.7. I have actually changed the password to user's password that I can actually pick in. Once I actually have that done, then I go on to the manual. Says you go on to Internet Explorer. I'm actually going to go on to Chrome for a variety of reasons. I just put in my password. And we should be able to log in. I've now logged into the unit itself, and the first thing I probably do is download the plugin. So the plugin allows the video controller to actually work and allows it to configure it. In the background, what I've done is configured a few things. Tech Buzz as the name of the camera, camera 1. I can actually change it there at the moment. Part of the other features, it'll allow me to go back to the playback. It'll go up to configuration. Possibly these are things I would do initially on the first time logging in. So when I'm configuring there at the moment, the first thing I'll probably do is into storage, storage management, and I've put in a 256 gig storage. First thing I would probably do is format that particular thing so it'll allow it to use it. You can actually configure it to whatever way you want it there at the moment, and it gives you basic information about the network. Obviously setting the time zone is quite important as well, and these are all the things. Before going into too much details on any of these, in essence all of these are standard, so it's nothing to do with the camera. So these are just standard, whether you had 10 different ANNKE cameras or not. It's the same software, and this is just another way of doing it rather than using your NVR. Typically your NVR would control a lot of these different features. We're going back to over here at the moment. I've got lots of different settings, so what I can then do is I can put it more, and I can move it over, and what we'll do is we will try and do a bit of We don't have actually a zoom on this particular model. There is no zoom. This is a digital zoom, so there's no optical zoom. Hopefully we'll get to see an optical zoom. They do have a 20 or 25 optical zoom, but for the moment we're just sticking with this particular one here. And this is the idea of the camera there, and what you can do is obviously you can pan up and down, you can kind of go up and down as you want. You can see what's going on. So when that's going, the camera itself is just connected. So all I've done is, as you saw earlier on, just connected this directly my laptop and things. So I'm connected on to Internet Explorer, and I've got 192.168.1. Put in my own user's name and password so I can get an idea there. So that's one particular part. So I suppose the other part, people will always say, well, actually I want to get the information off of the camera itself, and what do I do? So then what you'll end up doing is you'll pick in the date, you'll do a search, and that'll actually pick it up. But you can see along here a line, there's recordings, different time zones, different recording. And when I want to download something, I just get another pop-up, and this will come through. This is probably down to the internet, why it's actually running slow, but what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to pick a slot, pick a time, and pick a date and time, and just pick a search. What I've done is just I could actually narrow that down to my continuous motion or whatever. So if I had an event specifically, I'm just going to pick a small file here. And we'll just make that a little bit bigger, and we'll download that. What you'll actually see is it's downloading it directly to my my hard disk on the computer itself, so I do actually have it. And what we'll do is we'll just show you. Each one will break it down to different days, and this is one I did earlier on. So this is just your normal media player. One thing I like about this particular video clip is you can see it zooming around there at the moment. This is the daytime. We can see this is about 3:20. Reasonably dark day. What you can probably, maybe the camera doesn't show it, is the drops of rain coming down. It's actually picking them up quite clearly, which is quite good. And you can see the camera being moved. You'll also see the responses fairly quickly, backwards and forwards. So I'm counting them. Again, I stress there is no optical zoom on this particular model there at the moment. So this is a daytime view, and as you can see, it's quite picking up the trees, blowing up, so it's very clear clarity on what it's actually picking it up, and I like that particular part. It's not much good, I suppose, if we don't have a nighttime view. So this is the exact same location, the exact same view. I do stress this is 11:45, so basically midnight. This garden is really dark at night. You'll see the solar lights there, and you'll see a load of solar lights there. Typically, you wouldn't see anything there in the background with those particular there. So when you walk out in the garden, it is very dark. If you were to look at this video, you would think, oh, it's actually in the day. It is not. So the garden is picked up. So the night light, the night part of this vision is actually working very well. And this is where I've just gone out to see what's actually going. So remember, it's the same picture. This is black dark outside, pitch dark, and you can see me actually walking towards the camera itself to give you an idea of what's going. So if I didn't have the IR's night part here, this definitely would be a problem for me kind of going to see anything, what it's actually doing. Just focusing on the camera, back to the camera itself, and what I've done is I've kind of showed you moving around there at the moment is there, and this is it moving. So it's fairly responsive coming towards us, gives us an idea of what it's actually doing. So I can actually pick it up and down. The one thing today, from a mechanical point of view, this will only go up so far. So if I was to go on the top here, it will not actually see it. But if you had something, drop something underneath it, you will be able to drop it down. So it will go straight down, gives an idea of what's going on. And I can spin around. And again, we'll move it around. So this particular connection is just connected directly It's just connected directly without any, so I can't connect an app, I can connect other functionalities to this particular model itself. It's just going around. And what you'll notice is relatively quickly response. It's not complete jitter, etc. So it's giving us an idea of what is kind of going. There is actually a light connected to it as well. And that is basically it. That's what you're actually looking for in the Anker. In essence, a couple of things I do like about it. It's standard enough, it's very good. Is this a professional camera or is this just for your normal user? Some of the connectors are confusing in the terms of setting yourself up for failure using this particular camera and the connectors themselves. It is in the instructions, which are quite good. It does mention IE a couple of times there at the moment, doesn't it? It doesn't say UNVIF on the camera itself, there's no mention of it, but if you want to connect it to an UNVIF, NVR for example, it does give the instructions for an NVR. Ideally, I could plug that directly into NVR and control the same details itself, which is quite good. It is fairly responsive. The bracket itself is okay once you connect it. I've seen other ones where it's a lot more, fittings are a lot better for the bracket itself. But this is very plastic shoved together there at the moment. But once you put it up, the logic of that is because it's a pan tilt, it can actually move, so you don't have to have the angles in the same boat itself. User's manual, as I mentioned earlier on, is relatively okay, but there is so many different configurations that it's hard to get all those configurations correctly. And again, thank you for watching Tech Buzz Ireland. Today you've seen the Anker NightChrome camera, and this particular model was the IE81EM, and that particular model there at the moment. Certainly Anker have been around for a while. Nice little products themselves, good to see it. It doesn't take too technical knowledge to actually set it up, but you need to have a little bit of an alertness there at the moment. Typically most people will actually, what they'll do is they'll buy hardwire cables. On my own setting up, I use home plugs to plug it in, so instead of running a cable from full length of the details, I actually use the home plug to extend the cable there. It does actually work, but you need to be a bit more technical to get an idea of that. And again, this is the Anker particular models. They have NVRs, they have a load of variety of different cameras. As I said, some are 25 optical zoom, so depending on your requirements, etc. Full pan tilt zoom type cameras. Fairly responsive and thing. The light does come on, but what's really key on this particular model is the nighttime view. It's very, very good. Really impressed with that. And thank you very much for watching Tech Buzz Ireland.